The Fuse.
Hello YouTube, welcome to this video about Revelation and what Revelation is. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Yeah, don't know, take that or leave that. This topic looks at the idea of God's self-revelation to humanity, and these are the things that you should know, more or less. It seems like a tricky topic, maybe because it's titled with an unusual word that maybe you don't know what it means, but it's not that special. It's just about people who have had things revealed to them, maybe in unusual ways. So this guy, Ramanujan, is a good example. He was a famous mathematician who was rigorously orthodox Hindu, and he credited his knowledge and ability to his family goddess, a Hindu goddess. And he said that he would receive visions of her and that she would write things on his tongue, these mathematical equations, and then he'd write them down. He'd come out with them, write them down. And professors from all over the world recognised this guy who was, a poor kid from India who seemed to understand maths. He said, an equation for me has no meaning unless it represents a thought of God. He came up with theories mathematicians are still working on today, which he said came from a deity. So something was revealed to him about maths. Now, does that prove God exists? You decide. I don't know. Maybe there's some part of his mind he's tuning into and using a god or goddess as a front for that. Something's revealed to him. This guy is... Do you know who this guy is? Dmitry Mendeleev. He said that he saw in a dream a table of the elements. Now, you study science at school, I'm guessing, or have done, and I studied science at school. These period of elements came up. They were a man's dream. We are studying a man's dream in science. This is something that was revealed to him, and then he wrote it down on a piece of paper. So, this idea of revelation is not completely alien to us. There are examples of it in our culture. Einstein famously said that the mystical experience, where one experiences God, is the best or most profound emotion that we can have, and the source of all true science. So, this idea of revelation is not completely weird and kooky, although it is perhaps excitingly unique. So what it is that something is revealed that we didn't know before. So the idea is that God reveals himself to us because he cares and wants us to follow his teachings. Or if you're a Buddhist, there isn't a God, so that it's possible to have knowledge of the world revealed to you. So he contacts us through angels or prophets or religious leaders or priests or human beings in dreams and visions. So there are two kinds, right? There's general revelation, which is that everyone can experience God, and there's special revelation, so God reveals himself to individuals. So I'm going to unpack that a bit. First of all, I'm going to talk about general revelation, and there are lots of different kinds. I've made a mnemonic to help me remember, which is never hit women, particularly rowdy lasses. I don't know, I just came up with it, you can come up with your own. Which is that nature is a form of general revelation. Holy books are, like the Bible or the Quran, writings of religious leaders, prayer and worship, reason, conscience and faith, and life and work of other people. This means that everyone can have something revealed to them about God, which would be the same thing. Like if you and I read the Bible, we could both read the same page of the Bible, and God could reveal something of himself to us through that book. It might not be like an amazing experience, I had a dream or a vision of God. It might not be that. It might just be that the book says something about God. God is love, and whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. For instance, it's something in the Bible, God revealing something about himself. God is light and in him is no darkness at all. Right? We can both read that. It's just a form of general revelation. Nothing special about it. We can all experience nature being awesome. Ever gone to a big waterfall, something like that? Writings of religious leaders, not just the Bible itself, prayer and worship. If you go to church, they read out stuff. Like if you think about the Creed, which is we believe in one God, and the Holy Spirit, and the Son, and that stuff. Then, it's revealing something about God. Or in Islam, Idi ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, the Shahada, which means there is only one God, and that Muhammad is his messenger. This is revealing something, but it's not like a special experience in some ways, but it's revealing something about God. And the life and work of other people. We'll come to this. So the beauty and power of nature, a form of general revelation. Okay, evidence that God is immanent, so in the here and now. Prayer and worship, there's a poorly made slide for you. The idea that if someone takes part in prayer or worship, then they can feel God's presence directly or indirectly. If they feel God's presence directly, then it's special revelation. Indirectly, it's general revelation. I'll come back to that. And the work of others. So the behaviour of some people makes others feel like, okay, that's God revealing himself to the world through that person. So the life of Martin Luther King or Dalai Lama or Aung San Suu Kyi, who's a Buddhist activist in Burma, or Malala Yousafzai, a Muslim activist in Pakistan who says that Islam is a religion of peace. These people can reveal something about God in a general way. It doesn't have to be a special experience to an individual. Everyone perhaps can learn something about the nature of God through these people, or the nature of reality in the case of the Dalai Lama, because the Dalai Lama does not believe in God. So that's general revelation. Deep breaths. The idea that everyone can experience God through a certain kind of standard level. And then there's special revelation, that God reveals himself to individuals in a special way. Not in that sense. So a great example of this is St. Paul's conversion experience, which I've talked about in The Existence of God a little bit more, which is another YouTube video on this. That Saul, or who became Paul, saw Jesus while on his horse one day on the road to Damascus, and it changed his life forever, and he completely changed how he lived and what he did, and became a Christian, and the most influential Christian who's ever lived, maybe the most influential man who's ever lived. Discuss. The Buddha, sat under a tree, received his revelation of the truth of life, that desire is the cause of suffering, and he saw through that, and that life itself is an imminently beautiful, blissful thing if you can get past desire. And that was this idea of enlightenment, which is what that picture shows, this picture here. This revelation changed his life and beliefs, right? So it's a special revelation to him. People came to him and asked him to explain his revelation to them so they could have the same experience. All religious leaders have had some form of special revelation, whether it's Buddha or Paul. This guy is a Hindu saint who had a very particular experience. Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh religion, had a special revelation. Moses had a special revelation. I hope that's not offensive, by the way, if you're a Muslim, to have a picture of Moses there. And Muhammad himself, of course, who we're not supposed to draw pictures of, had a very profound special revelation where the Quran was told him by the angel Gabriel, the same angel who told Mary that Jesus was going to be born. Oh yes. And he got told to recite the Quran, very special revelation, the most powerful miracle for Muslims that has ever happened. So in congregations, you can get both going on, right? You can get the general revelation that everyone says the same thing, does the same actions, and a general revelation about the nature of God, that he's part of community, that he's told us certain things to do, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule, that stuff, and special revelation as well. The actual experience of praying in a mosque, if you've ever done it, very peaceful experience. I encourage you to try it if you've never been to a mosque. Check it out. It's a really cool thing to see lots of people moving and reciting the same things for like a peaceful and charitable religion. So worship in a church can be both general and special revelation. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, comment and I'll answer your questions. So its impact on power, it changes the world because it changes individuals. Right? If you have a revelation about something is revealed to you about the nature of reality or God, then that completely changes the world because it changes you. So never believe that a few caring people can't change the world. It's the only thing that ever have. And maybe even more strong, Gandhi has said, a small body of determined spirits fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission can alter the course of history. Yeah, and that has happened, isn't it? If you think back in human history, we think of these big names who have changed things and got around them a group of really sort of powerful, convicted, strong-minded individuals who follow those things because they've had a revelation, something's been revealed to them about truth, and they follow it with an unquenchable faith. So Revelation supposedly reveals these 5 things about God, right? That he's omnipotent, all-powerful, he can reveal himself whenever he wants, that he's all-knowing, that he's omnibenevolent, and he's everywhere and independent of the material universe. He's immanent, as well as loving, all-knowing, and as well as beyond the material universe. So often revelations have some sense of the other, the supreme, coming into the mundane, the normal world. So what are the comparative strengths and weaknesses of special and general revelation? So the strengths of special revelation is that it's powerful individual experiences that changes their lives, and their lives become powerful evidence for the reality of revelation. So, and not only that, sometimes the revelations themselves are proved true by other people, like in the case of Dmitri Mendeleev, who made the periodic table. Weaknesses, however, is it's completely subjective. Like one person saying, I've seen God, you know, he came to me in a dream and told me to put a hairband in. Like, that's just, no one can prove that, no one can verify that, because it's completely subjective. There's only the words faith to go on, and it's based on faith, not evidence, right? And general revelation strengths is that everybody can experience it, so everybody can say, yeah, you know, we've all read this, it all checks out, we all believe it. And there can be some level of consensus and agreement. But on the other hand, people could simply copy their parents and teachers or their peers. It's not necessarily a strength that of the idea of it being true. And again, there's no proof, right? It's based on faith or tradition and not evidence. So there's the strengths and weaknesses for you. So what is reality? We need to talk about this, because if we were to say that, you know, isn't it possible that this world is a projection? That somehow, if you watch The Matrix is very much about the idea that we're living in an advanced form of virtual reality. And that's possible, right? If all of our senses are just nerve impulses in our brain, then it's possible that all of this is a computer-generated simulation and we're plugged into a computer somewhere. It's possible, right? It's in the realms of possibility. When you dream sometimes, your dreams seem completely real, and then when you wake up you're like, oh, I'm not sure what is reality. That's because your brain's convinced you of it, right? So there's a big, massive question here. So what is reality? Is a dream more real than reality, or is my physical senses the thing that's real, or is it my experience that's real? These are questions that there is no definite answer to. We've developed science about the material world and the way the physical world works, but there's increasingly this idea that what goes on in our head and our consciousness affects reality. And this is in Harry Potter, right? Why on earth should it mean it's not real if it's just happening inside your head? Perhaps our thoughts and our consciousness affect the material world, and sort of quantum physics is beginning to look at this with stuff like Schrodinger's cat, but I won't go into that too much because it's confusing. But there's this question, like, what is real? Can we all confirm what real is? If I'm colourblind and I see green, and you're not colourblind and you see green, but I've learned that this colour I see is called green, we both have the same name for something different. Which one's real? Am I confusing you yet? All I'm trying to communicate is that the idea of reality is not such an easy idea. And there are alternative explanations for revelation, right? Maybe it's drugs, or maybe it's a hallucination. Maybe someone's got epilepsy, so they've taken drugs, or maybe they've had been spiked. Physical or mental illness. So someone might have a mental illness. There's a whole ward, a psychiatric ward in Israel for people who believe they're the second coming of Christ. A whole ward. They've put them all together. A bit mean, perhaps. I'm the second coming. No, I'm the second coming. No, I am. Awkward turtles. Maybe it's hypnosis. Maybe a form of collective hypnosis. Maybe people like Jesus and Muhammad, peace be upon him, and these lot, maybe they had some hypnotic powers, like sort of Darren Brown type stuff. If you've watched Darren Brown shows, you'll know how convincing people find the experience of being hypnotised or tricked. Maybe could just be a lie. Could all be lies. All of it could be complicated lie, but it could be. Or maybe it's some other explanation. Maybe it's aliens who are creating revelations in our little brains. There are loads of other explanations. So problems caused by this is that, okay, it's got elitist. Why would he reveal himself to one person and not the other one? What? And then if he doesn't reveal himself to some people, there's a risk of hell, right? They might go to hell. That's rubbish. That's not a very compassionate thing to do. And also maybe the biggest problem is that all religions teach a slightly different thing. But they've all say that they've been revealed the truth. So it's like, hang on, if there's one truth, then surely all human beings would agree exactly on what the truth is. But it doesn't seem they do. Like if we think about Buddhism, there's no God in Buddhism, and the idea that the purpose of this life is to free ourselves from desire and help other beings free themselves from desire and suffering, right? That's the aim of Buddhism. But In Islam, Muhammad's the last messenger, and there's one God. There is only one God. There's not many gods. In Hinduism, there are 330 million gods. So it's like, well, hang on, this is weird. Which one's the truth? Or in Christianity, Jesus is the only Son of God and the only way to God, right? That no one would have life except through his name. No one would have eternal life except through his name, is what it says in the Bible. So, they don't all match together. It's a problem, isn't it, about Revelation? So this is a bit of comparative religion for you. All religions are slightly different. They have different beliefs. So it's tricky, that. It's tricky. You should know, maybe, the name of the holy book. So in Christianity, the Bible. In Buddhism, it's called the Tipitaka. In Hinduism, it's the Vedas. In Islam, it's the Quran. Judaism is the Torah. And Sikhism is the Guru Granth Sahib. So they are the names of the holy books, which are forms of general revelation. If you can't, you don't have to remember them all. But good to know Christianity, obviously, and Islam, and maybe one other. Here's a bit of a glossary for you, which you can screenshot and print. I'm not going to read it out because that's boring. More glossary terms, also useful. And that's all I've got, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and do subscribe. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Good luck. May you all have splendid revelations. Goodbye.